So, hi everyone, I'm Rachel. I'm the marketing manager at a company called Reuseabox, and I spend most of my time convincing businesses to buy used cardboard boxes, which, when you say it out loud, sounds like a very niche career choice. But it actually sits right in the middle of what you're currently studying, so that's social enterprise thinking. So today I'm going to talk about what we do, why it exists, and what it actually feels like working inside a business like that, because that's the bit you don't usually get from textbooks. So a little bit about me. So I studied marketing at the University of Lincoln. I graduated 13 years ago. And at that point, I wasn't really thinking about sustainability or impact or social enterprise. I just wanted a job, ideally one that paid me and didn't make me miserable. And that's as far as the plan went. I started agency side, which was really, really useful because you got exposure to lots of different businesses, lots of fast learning, but there's also quite a lot of pressure. So you're constantly switching, working across clients who are completely different goals and different audiences, but you do pick up skills very quickly. I then moved into print and packaging, which is where I first started to see the scale of how much physical stuff businesses use and also waste. So that goes into like all the materials that are used for printing, and then quickly it gets discarded. And then I came across Reuseabox. And I remember thinking, this is either a really, really smart idea or completely ridiculous, because how could anyone build a business out of selling used cardboard boxes? Because it doesn't sound very glamorous at all. But that's kind of the point. A lot of social enterprise ideas don't look that exciting on the surface, but they solve a problem really, really well. And that's what pulled me into working for the company. So, what is Reuseabox? So, in the simplest, we sell used cardboard boxes. That's the whole business model. We collect boxes from businesses that don't need them anymore. So, for example, we work with Yo Valley that do all the yogurts. I don't know if anyone's seen the supermarkets.
We were talking about yogurts earlier.
So what they do is from one of their, the company supply all the yogurt pots to them. They all come in cardboard boxes, get delivered to Yo Valley. They take all the yogurt pots out to then fill them with yogurt. And they have all these cardboard boxes left over that move from one factory to another. And rather than being baled and being scrapped and sent off to be recycled, we get them instead. So we go collect them, we inspect them, we make sure that they're good quality, and then we just sell them on to businesses to use as boxes. So we don't remake them, they're literally the cardboard box that they are. But as I said, what is company's waste is now technically another company's supply. So the reason why we do this, because as I said, cardboard boxes are only used typically once, maybe twice, and then they're thrown away, even if they're perfectly reusable. So these boxes, they haven't lost any structure. Cardboard boxes actually can be used 6 or 7 times, no problem. And they do the job, what they need to do, which is sending stuff in the post or moving from one factory to another. So at Reuseabox, we're not creating something new. We're just stepping in and saying, actually, this still has value. And that shift in thinking is seeing value where others see waste is basically what the circular economy is all about. So the problem we have at the moment is that the reason why our business exists like ours is that most of the economy is still working in a straight line. So we take raw materials, trees, water, energy, and we make products, we sell them, and then we dispose of them. And it's been like that for a long time because it's easy and it's efficient to scale. But it relies on 2 assumptions. 1, that we've got unlimited resources to keep pulling from, and 2, that we've got somewhere for all the waste to go. Neither of these are true anymore. We see the consequences of first assumptions, things like deforestation, water scarcity, and depletion of raw materials. And the consequences of second in overflowing landfills, plastic in oceans, and waste being shipped overseas because we don't have the capacity to deal with it ourselves. So the system itself is showing its limits, and that's where a business like ours comes in. Not as a perfect solution, but one that is just a better way of doing things. So I think one of the biggest misconceptions going around is about recycling. So we've all been growing when we were younger, we're all told that put it in the right bin and it'll be fine. You solve the problem. But when you look at the data, most waste doesn't actually get recycled. So nearly half of it gets incinerated, so a significant chunk goes into landfill. Some gets exported, which means it ends up in other countries and we don't actually know what they do with it. And then about 18% of it actually ends up being recycled into something new. The thing about recycling, this is what we sort of go on a lot about with, is that when you have to recycle anything, the process uses energy, it uses water, and it uses resources. And even to turn a cardboard box back into a cardboard box, it has to be pulped, clean, and remade. And actually, you can't actually physically turn a cardboard box back into a cardboard box without adding more pulp in. You've got to cut down more trees just to turn a box back into a box. It seems really depressing what I'm all talking to you about. I'm really sorry. So on top of that, we're actually running out of raw materials. So take oil. We've got roughly 63 years of known reserves left in current consumption rates. And oil isn't just fuel. It's used in plastics, it's used in fabrics, adhesive packaging. It's embedded in an enormous amount of everyday stuff we don't even think about. We've got cobalt, which is about 50 years left of reserves, which is used in rechargeable batteries, which means everything from your phone to electric vehicles depends on it. And also you've got lithium, which we've only got apparently 20 years left. So that's critical for also batteries and energy storage. So it's slightly bad because we're trying to address climate change by relying on materials that are actually burning through quite quickly. So the point is that we're not all doomed, promise. It's just the assumptions that underpin the linear model, that there's always more raw material to extract, is running out the road. And we're going to have to start thinking different about the stuff that we already have. And that's where the circular economy comes in. So instead of that straight line, which is take, make, and dispose, it's about creating a loop. It's about keeping products and materials in use for as long as possible through reuse, repair, refurbishment, and redistribution. And then only when something really can't be used anymore, then you can recycle it. So the hierarchy matters. So it's actually reduce, then reuse, then repair, then recycle at the last resort when it comes to the circular economy. So just doing a little bit of myth busting. So people often equate the circular economy with recycling, but recycling is only part of it. As you can't really see. There you go. So it is part of it, but it's not the last resort, it's the goal. So when you're recycling something, it breaks down into more components and remake it. That process uses energy, water, and often chemicals. It degrades the material over time, and cardboard fibers get shorter every time they recycle, which is why you add more, basically, trees and pulp into it. So they can't be recycled indefinitely. When you reuse something, you skip all of that. That product stays as it is, no breaking down, no remaking, no degradation, it just extends its useful life. So reuse is always better than recycling from an environmental standpoint, and that's literally the whole basis of what we do. So something to look up, the Ellen MacArthur Foundation, which is probably the most well-known organisation working on circular economy thinking, breaks down into 3 principles. So eliminate waste and pollution, not manage it, not offset it, just eliminate it straight away in the design stage. So from a packaging point of view, it could be, why are we making the box so big when the item that's going inside is this size? Yeah. That could just be one thing that you just reduce in terms of packaging. And then circulate products and materials, so keep things in use for longer at the highest value for as long as possible. So actually our supplier, Oddbox, they actually ask their customers to send their boxes back. And so then they get them reused again internally, and then when it can't be reused anymore from their perspective, they give them to us. So they're already doing one thing. The same with, like even like Nespresso, they'll ask you to send back their, the pods. You can send them back to Nespresso and they will repurpose them as well. And then you also got regenerate nature, so not just do less harm, but actually give something back. So those 3 things, eliminate, circulate, regenerate, are the really useful lens for assessing any business that claims to be circular. So how does Reuseabox live this? So we eliminate, so boxes that would otherwise go to waste don't. We intercept them before they're crushed, baled, and sent off for recycling or disposal. And that waste stream simply doesn't happen. We circulate, so one business's surplus becomes another supply. So we even take on boxes that have been maybe misprinted that would probably end up being wasted, so we get them as well. So it could be misprints, so we also get not just used boxes. So that's a core of our model. So a box stays a box. It doesn't get broken down or remade. It just moves from where it's not needed to where it needs to be. We also fund tree planting, because even while we're saving trees through reuse, we also believe that we should regenerate natural resources. So we actually donate to a charity called Eden People and Planet, and they're based over in Africa. So not only does it fund tree planting, but also actually provides jobs for people actually to be able to reforest it as well. We also have a charity partner with Links and Knots Ambulance this year. So each year we also choose a local charity, which is why I was just talking to Rachel about it, is that I was been swimming 48 kilometres throughout the month for charity. It's not just our products that are circular, our whole business tries to reflect those values. So this isn't just an idea. So last year we reused over 2.6 million boxes, and this is actually what the impact is that we had. So we did a study 6 years ago with the University of Lincoln where they actually analysed the impact of reuse compared to recycling boxes. And so they calculated this is actually the impact when we actually reuse the boxes just once. So for every we had 2.6 million boxes reused last year, and it saved over 12,000 trees, over 3,000 tonnes of carbon, and that's 743 million litres of water. So for every tonne of cardboard, it's actually 200,000 litres of water that you're saving. And then for energy, it's 61 million kilowatts. So this is just from not recycling those boxes once. So we always think we're only getting the boxes reused at least once. This is that impact. If it was reused again and again, this is what the impact it could have. This is what Reuseabox looks like day to day. So it's a warehouse in Lincoln, so we're just in North Hycombe by the railway station, and it's forklifts and pallets and people on high-vis jackets. It's stacks of flattened cardboard boxes graded by size. It's batch teams packing orders and loading lorries. It's generally not that glamorous. And I say that not to unsell it, but because I think there's sometimes a gap between how social enterprise gets talked about, lots of visions and values language, but this is actually what it looks like on the ground. So the team at Reuseabox includes people who sort and inspect the boxes every single day. So they are there flicking through all the boxes, making sure there's no rips in them, so they can be reused, nothing that's been soiled, because sometimes we do have boxes from farms and they can do. But every box that we get back, if it can't be reused, also people, we don't pay for those boxes either. So we also have trained our suppliers to make sure they give us the boxes that are good quality, otherwise they're not going to get a rebate for it. We also do a lot of, volunteering as part of our culture. So charity fundraising, community events, supporting local causes, coming and speaking at universities. So there's recognition that being a good business means being part of the community we operate in, and not just having all the charity logos on our website. And I feel that does change the feel of the workplace, because people understand what they're doing actually matters. So people that work in the warehouse, they know that they are helping all these boxes get reused, which is going to be better for the planet. And it's not just a case of they're just coming into the warehouse every day and just sorting through boxes. They know it's having a great impact. And of course, when a business cares more about output, the culture is definitely going to be different. I mean, it's not perfect, nowhere is, but it is a different place to work. So the power of purpose. So working somewhere that has a clear reason to exist beyond profit does generally feel different. And I don't say that to sound like a recruitment ad. Part of it is our community forms around purpose-led work. So outside of work, I do something called People Planet Pint, which is just up here, which does sound like we'd literally just go to the pub and drink, which we do. But it's all about it's an informal meetup for people who care about sustainability. So we get together with loads of people across Lincoln who actually really do care about the planet. We've got people from universities, people from councils. They literally just want to have a conversation about what it means doing stuff better for business. As I said, I do lots of volunteering. I also did a TEDx talk a couple of years ago now, though mine wasn't about sustainability, it was about plus-size discrimination. But there's something you generally care about having these conversations in front of people. And I recommend it to anyone doing a TEDx talk, even if it's the most scariest thing in the world that you ever do. Highly recommend it. So the thing all these have in common is that they don't care. They came from caring about something, not from having a 5-year plan to become like a millionaire. It's about purpose sends open doors in ways that are different to engineer deliberately. So this is what I didn't expect when I joined Reuseabox. So purpose doesn't remove pressure. We still have revenue targets. We still have months where the numbers are tight and the conversation gets stressful. But caring about your mission doesn't make the commercial reality disappear. It just gives you a clearer reason to push through. So we have a mission at Reuseabox, which is shape a better future for people and planet. And so that every decision that we make as a company, we say, does this shape a better future for people and planet? If it doesn't, we're not going to do it as a business. And also, we still have to sell. So, we don't just get boxes reused for the fun of it. We have to make money of it. So while we pay for the boxes, we then got to put our own margin on to sell them. But the thing with that is that we are still about 50% cheaper than actually buying new boxes. So that's why a lot of the customers come to us first, because they just want to save money. And then the sustainability angle is something that they care about once they become a customer, which is why as marketing manager, my job is to make sure that our website's found, we've got campaigns going out, we've got emails going out, and doing all the normal things that a business will do to promote it. And also, as a business, is not every decision is clear cut. Sometimes doing the most sustainable option is also the most expensive, or it might be the hardest to do. Sometimes you make a decision that's better than the alternative and it's still not perfect. And you have to be okay with doing that, because as a business, you should really be striving not for perfection, but for progress. So as a business, what can we do actually to make things a little bit better? We might not be able to get there right at the end, but we can always step forward and go that way. And then one thing also that we do a little bit differently as a cardboard box company is we have a podcast. And so if anyone would like to listen to it, it's great. We have a lot of different guests on it. So this is hosted by our founder, Jack, and our co-host, Ellie, who I mentioned earlier, is our Chief Purpose Officer and does everything around B Corp. So we talk with a lot of businesses about basically purpose and why they do what they do as a business. So I think even just we're just about to finish our last series. So we had people talking about carbon accounting, sustainable nappies. So we had someone talking about a fungi that eats plastic nappies. We had someone talk about menstrual health, loneliness awareness. Spoken to B Lab, who are the people that assess you for B Corp. And yeah, it's been an interesting thing as a cardboard box company to have a podcast where we speak to a lot of purpose-driven companies as well. So we even had, I think one of my favourite was, we had Bird and Blend. I don't know if you've been to them in Lincoln. They're a tea company. They're also a B Corp, but they're a national brand. So we had them on the podcast as well. If there's one thing I want you to take away from today, it's this. The circular economy is about seeing value where others see waste. That's a shift, not necessarily about new technologies or big innovations. It's about changing how we look at things and what we decide to do with them. Businesses like Reuseabox exist because someone looked at someone being thrown away and thought, this still has value. And I think that's the lens we all need to apply to a lot of things, not just packaging, skills, communities, relationships, ideas. A lot of what gets discarded still has value. You just have to be willing to look at it differently. So that's a bit about me, what we do, and what it actually feels like from the inside. So happy to answer any questions, even if it's about me sitting in a box.